It's now broadcasting to all attendees. Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. There was my alarm. So good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today at the Virtual Benefits Forum for the 10 o'clock session. Just want to remind you that this is an hour-long session and it will be recorded and will be available to you later. CCRES will be automatically applied based on your attendance. And just make sure that on your profile on the site, we have your license number and that is accurately put in there so that we can also give you credit for attending the meeting. If you have any questions, place it on the chat box and I will be monitoring throughout the meeting. And if we have time for Q&A, we will address as many questions as time permits. Before the session begins, we would like to hear a word from our sponsors. Without them, none of this will be possible. And we want to encourage everybody to go to the virtual trade show meetings. And without further ado, I want to introduce Karen Stigers with Messer. So take it away.
Well, hello, everyone, and thank you so much, Al. This is definitely a different benefits forum this year, being virtual. But hey, we know that what we need to do is important. So I see that we made it work, and I am so excited to be here and be one of the sponsors. I am the regional manager for Messer Financial. We are FMO that's located right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, and really excited to work with them as far as teaching and training agents how to build a business. What I love about them is that they're very, very forefront and innovative in getting things done. They have been ranked for the last 7 years #1 FMO by Charlotte's Business Journal, and a plethora of portfolio products. I mean, when I came aboard about 7-8 years ago, they were my FMO for several of my contracts. And I just like the way that what they do and how they help agents succeed. So it doesn't matter if you are in the life insurance business, health insurance, under 65, over 65, annuity business, we have something for you. We even have a P&C department. So if you, of course, we talk to our clients, 9 times out of 10, they have an auto and home as well. So we have a department strictly designed to help you also get paid and get some referral business on the property and casualty side. So I really call it a one-stop shop. I am so excited again to be part of this summit this year and just really share with you all the things that our company will offer you. We have all kind of virtual tools. Oh my goodness, agency leads, agency building material, and just everything to help you be a successful agent in the business. So thank you again for allowing us to come aboard this year and to help sponsor this 2020 event.
Thank you so much, Karen, and we appreciate your sponsorship. And again, I remind you to be to visit the virtual trade show that you can find in the program and the app for the forum. Now it's my privilege to introduce to you Troy Bagne with Wanadu. Troy is an interoperability technology industry expert, and he has spent 20 years in the HR technology and employee benefits industry. And prior to starting his company, he spent 4 years as president and founder of Encore HCM. And they were the industry's first HCM system built on one data set that seamlessly powered employee benefits administration, data transfer, ACA compliance, payroll, HRIS, and applicant tracking all in one platform. And with this background, he has a unique experience and to drive Wanadu's mission and vision. And they are the only platform that motivates employees to engage in culture, health and personal finances. And we all know when employees are happier, they're healthier and more financially secure, your bottom line is also secure. So here is Troy Bagne.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Al. I should also say I was a broker at one time. So I lived and breathed, been in your shoes. I did that for about 5 years, so I have that background as well. So as we kind of walk through, the topic here today is really that merging workplace and financial well-being. Before I get into more of the webinar, I like to level set as somebody who's been on a lot of webinars myself. I kind of like to at least know the roadmap. So the flow today is, it's going to be more of a business case in a way, or like a story. I'll do my best to kind of, if you are multitasking, I get it, as Al and I were in the waiting room joking that, hey, work never stops, life never stops. So if you are multitasking, that's completely fine. But it'll be more of a story, and then we'll definitely get to the end of the power of that merger of that workplace and financial well-being. So with that, I think most of us felt this, that there was this convergence of work and life anyways. And I think if there is a nice thing that COVID did, is that did bring that to the forefront, that people have lives, people have their health, they have their finances, they're people. So there's really, in our opinion here at Wanadu, there's no longer you have work and you have life. Life is work and work is life. They're converging. So as we step through how this affects the workplace well-being with finances, we truly do need to think differently. And I know a lot of webinars I've on, they've said this. I think most people think this. But here at Wanadu, and when we start hearing our process and the flow or the business case today, is it's really a way of truly thinking. It's trying to think at what you're doing today, what your clients truly want, what those employees at your clients truly want, and trying to bring that up. Because as we talk to all of our clients, and I still do a lot of broker summits, I still do a lot of advisors with brokers, this is the view of the market to what brokers, agents, and consultants do today. They're kind of all the same. It reminds me a lot of Where's Waldo. They don't really see the differentiation until you give them a reason. And don't worry, I'm going to let you know where he is, because if you're like me, it would have driven me nuts all day long to know where the heck that little guy was. So again, as we start thinking, and I'll fly through these because you know this, most that we talk to, whether our good broker partners want to admit it or not, there's still a lot of, to get business, you want to lower the rate. You want to get the AOR. You want to get the BOR. You want to bundle some packaging to get different rates. You have a different product mix, at least you think, right? You go into the market, hey, I got some level funded, some self-funded, I can strip out some PBM. There's a lot of different options. Service is my favorite. We will spend no time on that because we all know we all have great service. Benchmark reporting, as data becomes more and more important, not only to you as the broker agents, but also employers, it's becoming more and more obviously evident that you need at least some of that, or at least to have some insight on where you fit. Compliance obviously is huge. Obviously with COVID, there's been ramifications not only at the workplace level, but obviously it affected some payroll, how that gets rolled out, benefits, obviously, as you folks know better than anybody, affected that. And obviously enrollment technology, is that a differentiator anymore? When 6 years ago, when people were giving eCentral away or Employee Navigator, or they had a great deal with bSwift, now it becomes common that most agents, brokers, consultants kind of have that. And at the end of the day, is that really a differentiator? Because when we target our prospects and we get under the hood and we get into our broker summits and we get under who we want to work with, the result is this is expectations. I put expectations, but in the Wanadu walls, we call this opportunity. So if our clients are expecting this, expecting a decent rate, expecting us as brokers and agents to keep people updated on products and service, and they want a fair rate that their competitors in their region have, so they can stay obviously competitive with hiring in folks. Compliance, no-brainer enrollment. So that's the expectation, and the massive opportunity here is when we polled all of our clients, and as we do with prospects as well, is we do ask them things because we want to get back to our our roots to our industry is, what is the perception? And unfortunately, again, it's an opportunity, but only 2% of clients think that there is really a differentiator with their broker or consultant. And the other piece, and you guys know this more than anybody, is they get called on almost every week by another broker with another solution. They just get bombarded. So in their mind, again, I'm not saying it's true, in their mind, they think it's pretty level. And then you get down to like, well, what are they actually trying to help me with? One of the questions we ask is, what are your broker consultant friends doing to actually try to help your productivity, your profitability? Is it just the health plan? Like, well, let's get involved a little with that. And again, the opportunity here is only 13% think that their broker, agent, consultant is really getting to the roots of what they need. So again, massive, massive amounts of opportunity. So then, again, most of these discussions I have is more of a summit or at least an afternoon. So we're trying to condense it down. So there's a lot more to this, but when we look at, so what do we need? You know, we want to get out of the, you know, the grain. We want to get out of the commodity business. How do you shine? So as we look deeper into what does that look like? What do clients actually are looking for? What are they actually trying to solve? It absolutely 100% starts with employer buy-in. Now, again, I've been on a lot of webinars. You've probably seen that. You probably preach that as well. But in our minds, it's the agents, the brokers, consultants that truly buy into that. Again, it's a mindset of, are they bought in? Because I've had clients when I was a broker, we have clients today that want to do that, say it. Oh yeah, we really do care about employers' health. We really do care about this. But at the end of the day, they don't. And that's what's frustrating. So as we're going out, it's going to take our industry to step up and say, I know you think that's not a big deal, but here's why. It's a new way of thinking. So that's kind of step one in the process. Step two, and I have a lot more data coming up here on this, is the realization, a lot of us have known this, but employers are now realizing that employees do truly power their organization. You know, not only is it 30 to 40 or upwards of 60%, depending on the business, the expense, but it's also, these are the people that can help you solve your problems, whether it's a process, whether it's better implementation, whether it's, hey, this is what I need to be successful at work. This is what I need to be more successful with my health, my finances. You need to start listing your employees because they will tell you, as we started to want to do, and we did all of our research and beta groups and all that fun stuff, it is amazing what employees will tell you how to help your company when you give them an opportunity. So that's the second key piece. And then with that, it's one thing to know, but now you need to get to the root. Well, why? Why are you disengaged? Why are you struggling with your finances? What's the root? You know, one thing that probably annoys everyone here at Want to Do is I always say, well, what's the root cause of that? Because if we're not fixing the root, we're just pushing off the problem longer and longer. And that's what our industry has done. And some people don't like when I say that, but we're in, I have a slide coming up on here, we're in almost the exact same position we were 10 years ago. I was down in Nebraska 5 years ago and did a presentation on the same thing, and I had one slide, and that was 10 years ago. What has changed with technology? What does it solve? And my answer was nothing. And then I went into how we need to do it, but we need to figure out the insight, and we need to give them a tool on the why. And employers are getting much smarter with this. Not only have we been doing our research, and myself personally, for many, many years, but as we look at it in the employer research now, most larger brokerages or health companies are doing their own research. Like, what are employers struggling with? You know, I think the top one up there, burst, and the top three are all around well-being and the convergence of health and finance. You look at Glassdoor, you know, the culture, the people. Again, the people drive the business. The people are the most important piece. That's at 63%. That's what they're struggling with. Gallagher's put out some great pieces, Lockton, Towers, Watson. I mean, the list goes on and on. If you're on those emails lists, if you're not, I would, because it's fantastic that they're willing to share their data. And then Short Lister, if you're not familiar with them, they're an aggregator of different products and solutions. So they're really cool where you can get a lot of good insight from them. But they're even showing that well-being in the upper right-hand corner is the thing that companies and employers are struggling with, their health, their finance, and the convergence of those two. List goes on. Paychecks. They have obviously many, many clients. HR strategy is number one. HR strategy is number one. Recruiting, compliance. Now it goes over to Optum. You know, they've been studying this for 10 years. What goes in that well-being? So employers are getting hit now in multiple ways on what are they struggling with. And they're starting to think finally, what is this well-being? Like, what is this? I offer a health plan, I offer dental, I have a wellness plan, and that's just not enough. That is not enough. And we as an industry, as brokers, agents, in my mind, are the ones to help power this moving forward, to help educate our employers and how to solve these problems. So that's a lot of data, and I realize that. So again, I know we're taping this or recording this, and we can also get our slides. So that's what employers are seeing now. So then it's important, well, what does that mean? Like if our employees are struggling, we've all seen the disengagement rate at 70%. It's been that for 10 years. People are stressed. 50% are living paycheck to paycheck. 40% unfortunately are unhealthy. This is what we need to solve as an industry. This right here, because this has gone on long enough. This has literally been a 20-year trend of what employees are struggling with, because what they're struggling with again at home and in their personal lives, they bring to work. That's the presenteeism, that's the absenteeism, that's the elongated work comp claims. This is the problem we find as an industry, the root to help this. This will then now bring our industry forward. And there's so much potential with you folks in offering and trying to dig into this. Now to make it a little bit more real, and I have a roll-up report or slide here coming up. And I'm sure you've seen these stats, but I like to look at them again as a culture slide in particular. In that, 82% of people think that they have a good idea to improve their employer, which is fantastic, right? That's the only way employers can, I shouldn't say the only way, one of the major ways, there we go, for employers to continue to get better is to listen to their employees. They're on the front line. They're getting the feedback from the client. They're getting the feedback on the product. They're getting feedback. They're the ones that are going to help. Then as you look to the left there, only 34% believe or don't believe that or the company does not listen to their ideas. That's not a good thing. And even worse, 18% are fearful for sharing their voices. Again, we need a system or a way to kind of pull all this data together to now start and empowering those employees, because that's going to power the employer. And this will all come together here in a second with the roll-up data. Now, more for you folks, this is the roll-up on the health slide. Obviously, you know it's more than most groups I talk to, but obviously 88% of people don't understand their health. 75%, the good thing is it's preventable. So as we work together as an industry, how do we do that? How do we get people not to be a high claimant? That's the goal, right? Because people drive claims. If your claims costs are high, well, you can't just fix the number. You need to fix the people in order to get the claims lower. 40% have 2 or more chronic conditions is still mind-blowing. We need to fix that as an industry. So again, those are the roots. Now we've done culture, but it always does tie back to the dollar. And what was interesting is the topic was presented and how this ties back to the finance is, to me, and us I want to do is the finance piece is always the last one on the bus, kind of the forgotten child type of thing. That this is what drives a lot of the interconnectivity of the culture and health problems. When we have so much debt, 140,000 roughly, most people have credit card debt on average, 46,000. They're losing sleep. Obviously, that's going to affect their work, presenteeism, absenteeism. They're unable to pay bills. That's a lot of stress. And as we look at it, we need to focus more on this. And as one, again, that's been doing this a long time, the health stuff is much more prevalent now. Not that we're sharing our laundry, but we're spending a lot of time and money and trying to engage and with health coaches and all this fun stuff. We got to get better with the finance, because really the finance, at the end of the day, everyone only makes X amount of money. And if they're stressed about this could be causing them the stress of their health. This could be causing them stress at work. One of their spouses loses their job, one of them gets furloughed. It all, unfortunately, starts with the dollar. And we need to start doing a better job of bringing this in, because our country is extremely stressed. Now, in the intro, I was saying, if you're kind of partially working, or this is the slide, if you're going to think of what I bring to you today is this. As we look out and study all of the data, the facts, the stats, the research, the reporting, this is the #1 tool when our prospects or when our broker partners start understanding and truly buying in on this, on how to help their clients, how to not only retain, grow, but help our industry. this is the slide that does it. The understanding finally that by having a great culture where you're engaged, you feel like you can give feedback and suggestions on how to get better, that you're in a culture of health where you're truly trying to empower people to become healthier, giving them tools to actually get better. Same with finance. The realization finally is employers do now know that by having an engaged, healthy workforce drives their productivity, drives their profitability, and it'll decrease turnover. I think too, I also put a screenshot. This was a group I think I did 2 weeks ago that we were demoing too, and we pull out the real data. It's one thing to see that and be like, okay, I get it. But it's another thing for your clients, your prospects to see it. You know, when we talk with HR people, of course, with HIPAA and all that stuff, but they still get a little bit of wind, or someone just hop in and say, hey, I was diagnosed with cancer, or I can't pay my bills, or whatever. So they have an idea, but to go off stats, this is just on average, and we pull these stats from many different spots. This is an average 464 life group. And as we talk, if this is a prospect, this is the aha moment of finally. This is the finally, I will have, again, I don't know who it is, but out of the systems, you'll start understanding what is actually going on. And now as we look at our agent, broker, and channel partner friends, the understanding of how this can actually help, and I'll get to how this will really help with like products and strategy at the broker agent level, this is what they're dealing with. Now, when I've been on a prospect call, when you, of course, do the, hey, ABC company, what are you struggling with? How can I help? They might be saying, hey, reduce my costs. My costs are crazy. I can't keep affording this. What they're really telling you is, I need help so we don't have those costs. So with that understanding, and I'll get to the data points thing on the end, but then other companies have this as well, but the ROI calculators, like what does that mean on average? I get it in theory, Troy, I get it, but what does that actually mean? And we have tools, other people have tools to actually kind of prove that out. So this is a slide, I think one of 2 slides that please remember, because this is one of the most impactful slides. I think the other power slide, and this is kind of also depressing, but also shows the opportunity of when we can work together, there's a huge, I hate to say payout, because we have, as an industry, spent literally billions and billions and billions of dollars trying to fix the root of the problems. What is causing people to get sick? What is causing people to get financially struggling? And behind there's some awesome literature for you to follow as well. And I put this slide on because what annoys me about this is all these are single slot. They're solving one little, I shouldn't say little, they're solving a piece of it, but they're forgetting about the entire rest of the person. So that's the opportunity we all have. Is it's great that these companies exist and that they get $20 million from some VC to fix X, but that's only fixing X, right? That person also has Y and Z. So until you look at the entire well-being and the convergence of the health and the finance and pull it all together, we're going to be in the same spot. And it gets back to, we've spent billions on thousands of different companies, and we are in the exact same spot we were 10 years ago. Now, to me, that's opportunity, but it's also a little depressing. So wanted to share that with you. So where we're at, that's a lot. And that's, so we talked the employer, thinking differently, getting insight from employees, and it is a lot. It's a lot of data. It's a lot of opportunity, if you're an optimist like I am, to start changing. So the simple way, at least that I view the world, is to just dumb it down. Again, what's the root? You got the employer, and you got obviously employees. Employer wants their employees to be engaged. They want their employees to be healthy. They want them to be financially secure. They want them to obviously be productive, to be healthy, promote this team atmosphere. There's almost no employer that would disagree with that. Same on the right with employees. I don't anymore because it's a little corny, but I used to do in the old days, raise your hand if you don't want to be healthy. Okay, raise your hand if you want to be 140,000 in debt. And nobody does. I mean, nobody wants to do that. So if the employer and the employee have the exact same wants and needs, let's start with that as the base. Because if you don't start thinking what those employees and bringing them in, you have the iceberg effect. If you know what's going on in your organization, they're all comfortable. We can start truly voicing our opinions without feel of pushback. I'm start feeling engaged. I love going to work. That's going to be your organizational. That's what's underneath. Because right now the reality is up top, it's a website, right? It's maybe a ping pong table. It's things that at the end of the day don't mean a lot. It might have marketed well 10 years ago with, hey, come work here, we got a ping pong table and free smoothies. That doesn't meet Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's not it's not working, right? And the stats will prove it out. That doesn't work. You need to figure out what's underneath it. That's where we'll start seeing that opportunity of well-being. Because it does, in a way, start with how decisions are made today. And what I mean by that is most employers that we've dealt with in my entire career, they're making decisions based upon what they think. And to some extent, they need to be real careful. Some things that's 100% accurate. But we start trying to figure out how that affects the employees. They've never really involved them. They've never really, I hate to say cared, but that's the way of looking at it. It's either someone like you, like an agent, broker, consultant, maybe their CPA, their attorney, come in and say, hey, I got a great solution. This worked really well for ABC employer. This will really work great for you. Maybe. And keep in mind, as we go through here, the average employers get in about 122 emails a day on vendors pushing product. So what happens? They block it out. They're going to go up to their trusted advisor network, which is hopefully one of you folks on the benefit side, agent side, to say, what do you think? And then it's been pushed back. It's been, here's what we're going to do on wellness. Here's what we're going to do on our finances. We're going to carve out our retirees and we're going to give them an exchange. Here's what we're going to do. That little red line there is on average the little bit employees ever get feedback. That's that annual survey that's ineffective. That's that CEO standing up in a lunchroom saying, hey, anyone have any ideas how to improve this company? Nobody talks. That's the feedback. And this, again, has been the problem of where we're at. We're treating every employer the same. We all know every employer is a little bit unique. And below that, their employees are going to be unique. So until we start looking at this differently, we're going to be in the exact same position we were. So a simple slide here. In our opinion, and going off the stats and reports and everything we've combed through, it's necessarily not going to be equal. I get that. But in terms of trying to get feedback, you need to. Because again, almost every employer we talk to, it's a little bit of a trap, to be honest. I always ask them, what's your most important thing about your company? So I always say people. People. They're our greatest asset. It's our people. It's our people. And then my response normally is, well, when are you going to start treating them that way? When are you going to start actually caring about what they think? Because they'll tell you, and the stats, again, will prove it out, that you need to get your employees' input on what they're struggling with, what they need. You know, do they need their 401k person to come into the lunchroom once a year to figure out their finances that 3% of people attend? Probably not. They need something better. They need something that empowers them to make better decisions, that's ongoing, which you folks probably have great vendors for that, but that's the power, and that's what we're trying to get through today. And there are systems out there that will allow people to actually start giving de-identified insight into companies. This is just a screenshot of ours. There's others that I felt odd putting on a presentation, but there's others of way to get that feedback. Again, we have to as an industry start involving those employees, because at the end of the day, the data will start telling the story. So this is number 2, if you're kind of half listening or multitasking, this is number 2 on please remember the slide. Because if you're not measuring something, how can you improve it? That's another line I ask all of our prospects when we do broker summits. How do you know? How do you know that wellness plan works? How do you know that taking biometric screening test works? Like, how do you know this stuff? How do you know they understand their benefits? How do you know that they want pet insurance or don't? How do you know this stuff until you ask them? So as we are, you know, and I also said a little bit on my intro, I've been a data fanatic for 20 years. And until you have that data to figure out what is, just an example of how you could segregate the data, how do you know what your culture is? How do you know the financial stress where my employees are under until you know? It sounds corny to say like that, but you don't. The companies I've worked at prior to Encore and of course Wanadu, we never did. They didn't care. We had the 401k email. Here's your statement. Good luck. Okay. We all did it. We all were just, you know, sheep in a herd. Here we go. But underneath that, people struggle with different things. So as we look at the finance, until you know the root cause of why I'm not doing well financially, why am I living paycheck to paycheck? Well, I have 2 kids that are trying to go to college. I'm trying to do some prep. I have some bad loans. Like, we need to start getting the data. So screenshot number 2, the data will tell the story. Now I like this analogy. Some people tease me because it's now getting old and probably overused. But of all movies that to some extent validated my way of always using data and thinking was Moneyball. Hopefully you all have seen it, but if you haven't, Moneyball was a baseball movie where it's about the Oakland Athletics. They were the first major league sport, especially obviously in baseball, that started using data to drive decisions. So it wasn't, hey, let's go get this guy because he hits 42 home runs and has a percentage of X. The movie was all about, you have to figure out the data behind that. Well, that's great, but what's their on-base percentage? What percentage are doubles? Which way do they hit, right or left? That's the data that we believe our industry is going to move toward. It's going to be a data-driven decision model on what our employers and what those employees do. And very similar to, and I had to do a little bit of research on this, and now when you look at every major sport, not just baseball, they all have analytics software. Yeah, this is SAP. They've been kind of the leader in actually tracking pitch count. They're actually tracking where Troy hits the ball, or Al likes to hit it to the left side 60% of the time with fastball. That's the data. As we dream this out as an industry, that's the data that is going to start bending that curve to making us more healthy. That's going to bend the curve to make us more financially secure. That's the curve that's going to make our culture and our employers' lives much easier. You need the data to drive decisions because it's been proven out on and everything else that's been using data. So again, as we look at why leveraging data works, I will say at Encore before we ended up selling off that HCM, we were getting about 7 data points on Ben admin, and depending on their pay cycle, you know, whatever, 26, 52 data points on payroll, but it was static. Like, what did that do, right? So as we were in that HCM world trying to figure out, well, what our clients and everyone kept saying, we want data, Troy, we want data, we need analytics, we need analytics. Well, we're giving you analytics. And they're like, but it doesn't mean anything. What do you mean it doesn't mean anything? Well, okay, fine. You're in the Ben admin system for 22 minutes. It's very low on payroll because, you know, of course, most of us get the text message saying your money hit. Nobody's logging in that system. So how do we know, or what's the insight are we going to be able to get from our employees on how they're doing, like what they actually need? So to us, you need to start finding systems that'll give you data. Ours in particular gives roughly 370 data points per employee per year. It's actionable, it's real time. That's the key, because a lot of this relationship and how people do, it is like a relationship. It's like when you know, your spouse, or when you're dating, or a team sport, there's ups and downs, right? Especially with COVID. You're doing fine financially. Maybe it's yourself, your spouse gets furloughed, or hey, you know, we can continue to keep you at X company, but you're going to need to take a 25% pay cut. That's ramifications. So it's constantly changing, and until you understand and measure, like Moneyball, it's going to be almost impossible to figure out how to bend those curves back up to get people engaged, healthy, financially secure. Another one that I'm obviously super passionate about is data, but also the engagement. Also, my prior life, I was on the vendor side. I was doing group life, disability, short-term disability, dental, and I haven't followed this as much, but we were trying to get participation up with the exact same ways of doing it, with the same handouts, whether you're a 21-year-old or you're a 35-year-old with kids or a 60-year-old with your kids gone. This marketing material was exactly the same. So we need to improve engagement. We need to make it personalized. There's different ways that we and others can do that, but that's the key. It's not always how you sell somebody, it's when. So there's all these different avenues of how we can do this jointly, but to get those engagement rates up, we need to start making it personal, because that's the way people live their lives. You know, when I really get on the soapbox, it's the Amazon, it's the Netflix. It's this data that they're pulling that is personalizing it for us. Now, if you've seen The Social Dilemma on Netflix, that's relatively freaky documentary, but they're collecting data to personalize. And there's good ways of doing it, and there's also ways that if you check that out, you'll see on that site that does get a little scary. But bottom line, we got to improve engagement, and we got to start driving change. And that's the pieces we kind of go all the way back to thinking differently. Is the brokers, agents, and partner channels that work best with us is they have this mind change, if you will, that I'm no longer just product. I'm no longer a rate person. I am going into this company to figure out where do they need help. And to do that, you actually need to know. You can't guess. I mean, you can kind of guess off averages, and I shared that slide of the average group. But it's very difficult for our industry to improve, our employers to improve, our prospects to have insight until you have that data. It's very impactful. Again, it's like Moneyball. It's why, if you are a baseball fan, I'm a huge Minnesota Twins fan. It's like when our home run hitter, blanking on his name, gets up, the whole field shifts to the right. And my brain is like, hit it to the left, man. But he's been doing it so long, he always slaps it to right. So either it's a home run or he grounds out. But that's the data. The other team knows exactly what it's going to do. So that's the type of data in a parallel that we need to do to drive our change moving forward. And again, I can't stress this enough. The data will tell the story. We need to know that. It's great that you want to offer products, or you want to think this wellness plan, or hey, let's put in a financial fitness type tool to our employees. Until you know kind of what they want and how they want it, it's going to be fruitful at best until you actually know what tools and how. So this would probably be number 3 screenshot of how, again, as I'm in having broker summits and really getting the weeds with our partner channel friends, it's taking a look at this data to figure out what can I do now. This is the separator now, where you're no longer finding Waldo. You're no longer just doing rates and product. You're actually looking at the data of your clients to figure out what can we do better now to figure out what to do. So in systems, you can start seeing what articles people are interested in, what resources are they hitting. This will start telling you where they need help. And this is now going to be your huge advantage in the market, the opportunity to your employer. So in this example, a lot of people we're hitting the 401k. A lot of people just in our system alone are worried about their 401k, just as an FYI. Also, student loan debt. You know, I just read, I think yesterday, 30% of millennials were let go with COVID. They're also the ones with the massive student debt. So as they get let go, as they get all that crazy stuff going on, they need help. So until you know that, now in this example, as a partner in a system that can maybe do this, now you know what products to offer. Now you know what products to push in a platform to help. What resources, Headspace, it's a great mental health app. A lot of our employees at our employers are having mental health problems, which is obviously super obvious why, but they need help. And it's really fun in a system now to see where these people are using it, where they need help, and what you as a trusted advisor, broker, agent can actually bring in now to bring in those solutions. So as we're getting towards the end here, why employers need that insight. One, they need a tool to start listening to their employees. I cannot stress that enough. Of all of the clients we have on our system and working with some of my competitor friends in the same boat, it all comes down to letting those employees give feedback. That's the gold. That's the secret to really turning down those numbers and giving them a platform where they feel comfortable doing that. That's super key. Again, having that employer that's bought in, I think that was slide 2 or 3, is extremely important because the system is only as good as the leadership. I've heard that from our broker friends, our agent friends. We 100% agree, which is why it is so important that us as an industry group start having those tough conversations with employers when they say, our employers are fine. Our employees are fine. We're good. Well, 1, maybe, and 2, mathematically through stats, they're not. They might look good, right? They might not look stressed. They might not look like their spouse lost their job. They might not look like they just had colon cancer screening test that didn't go right, but they are on average. So to say you know that is a fallacy. Got to engage them. That's the only thing that will drive change. Literally, if people are not engaged in their health, how are they supposed to fix it? Again, if you don't know where your health is at and what's driving your numbers, how you fit in an average person like me, I'm 42, 3 kids married, someone like me, it's very difficult for me to improve until I know, and it's got to be personalized. And I love this war on talent word because it's been going up and up and up the last 10 years, which is not good. I don't mean that, but it's funny. It's like every year it gets worse and worse and worse. And at least the stuff I've been reading and through our contacts, it is at an utmost height. It's very, very difficult to start retaining your best employees because your best employees are also your competitors' best employees. So it's very, very important that you give them a tool where they're comfortable giving feedback. Because 2 of the best people I've ever worked with at prior companies left for things, if the employer would have known their problems could have been fixed and they would have retained them. And as you guys all know, the math behind that to replace a good employee and to find somebody, train them, it's just astronomical. So you're always better off getting that feedback directly from those employees to retain them. I think I said 3. Let's make it 4. Slides to remember. Something else we've been studying a lot is, as I was just flowing through that convergence of the well-being and the interconnectivity of health, finance, and that life or that culture piece. Of course, we get it. Our broker friends get it. Most HR folks get it, but how do we start making it super crystal clear to the CEOs, to the CHROs of exactly what's happening? So I did some research for you. This is where the average head of HR and of course CEOs spend their time. Obviously, HR has a lot of development HR strategy. They meet with employees. This is what they're spending their time on, right? They're not spending time on, man, I need to reduce my healthcare costs by $20 next month or at renewal, or dang, we really need to look at a different network for X plan. Now, of course, they do that with you folks, but it's only during that pre-renewal or maybe that 6-month quarterly or whatever you do that. But this is what they're spending their time on, is how do they get more productive, how do they get more profitable? I mean, that's the bottom line. CEOs, obviously, this is what they do every day. So again, as we're converging this wellness and this whole thing together with employees, the downstream effect is by doing that starts affecting the CEO. That's the pin into when I get into deep dives, deep discussions in with our close partner channels. This is the key. They're understanding that if you fix the problem of your employees, they're the ones that will give you the ideas, as I mentioned. They're the ones that have the insight to their clients on how to improve customer service, or this product, we don't like this product because of X, Y, and Z. They're the ones that are going to give you the feedback on how to improve through your clients or services. You just need to give them a gateway now to tell the C-suite, for lack of a better term, of how to do that. So again, our opinion is you have to have that data. It has to be measurable, because if you're not measuring it, you can't prove it. So as we look out in the market, by giving your contacts, HR, CFOs, CEOs, data that's actionable, real time, and measured throughout time, that will make them more productive and drive profit, that is going to be the new way to retain and, of course, grow some prospects moving forward. So, Al?
Yes, sir.
That is what I had for today. I just got it in under 9:45 Central was my goal, so got her in the nick of time.
Question, I might have missed this, but you're talking about data, and I do agree that data is definitely key, because it will give you, it would just reveal so much about the company, the employees, the culture, the health of the company, right? But what are your sources of obtaining the data?
Great question. I will go back, because it is a screenshot of ours right there. So this is only ours, Al, and I know I'm high level to market here, but in any system, you need to track activities in a platform. So an example would be, of course, surveys are a great piece. So we do pulse, you can do surveys, pulse surveys. It's got to be lined out correctly. The annuals don't work because this stuff changes too much. So it's got to be in line. Systems that track feedback. So not necessarily Troy said X to Al, or hey Al, I really need, or you know what, Troy did a bad job on this webinar today. How'd I do? Troy did a bad job. So we're tracking how active Al is, how active Troy is. High fives. We're tracking, because it's one thing to get survey data. There's also a large argument to say, well, actions speak louder than words. Because as we look at data on surveys, it's partly just a human. Well, how do you think of working here? Is it fun? Well, yeah, it's great. But you can dive into that same de-identified person in our platform to figure out, well, they're not engaged at all. They've never really read an article. When an employer posts, here's a COVID update, oops, here's our return to work policy, here's our return to school policy, which is another one that's just going crazy. When they're in there and interacting, that data is brought. What articles they're clicking, Al, is another one. Again, it's one thing to say, how's your finances? I think it's pretty good. We're doing all right on a survey. But if your employees keep pounding how to get money from my 401k, or how, what's the tax ramifications of pulling my HSA out early, all of those articles will start ringing the bell on, we need to do better education on HSAs. We got to get in front of our employees right now on, don't take your money on your 401k, please. And if you have to, hey, we get it, but that is the worst thing you can do. Like, that's the power of the data that now gives to our broker and agent friends, Al, to start messaging that in the system. So ours is upper right, that you as our partner or the employer can start saying, hey, we know you guys are struggling. Reach out to Health Advocate as an example. Reach out to, we have Buoy Health for a symptom tracker on COVID. Most of our clients already had a telemed plan. So when telemedicine went berserk, well, I'll just speak towards Blue Cross of North Dakota, it was buried on their website. So what we did is told all of our clients in the region, hey, here's the link, bury this to your clients, your employees, saying, here's telemed, it's right here. Most of our clients had an EAP, much like I'm sure your clients, that was maybe tied to an LTD plan. Well, employees don't remember that. This is the spot. Now you educate them on, if you're struggling with your health, here's a EAP plan that, oh, by the way, me as a broker, agent, consultant, already had put in a benefit package for you, but this is the value you're going to start getting back out of it. So that's kind of the aha moment. And I know I wasn't supposed to maybe go down how we do it, but that's the way systems are going to pull the data up to make it measurable. And that's how, at least in our platform, Al, we're getting 370 action points per year on average per employee.
Lance Ledbetter raised his hand. Can you talk, Lance? Lance? There was somebody raising their hand. I thought it was Lance. Okay.
Now, can you hear me all right?
Yep, there it is.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's all right.
Oh, Troy, just a quick question. How simple is this type of solution to implement?
Yeah, so I can only speak towards ours, Lance, but ours, since it is a lot of de-identified stuff, to get it actually up and running, it is first name, last name, and email. If an employer wants to go, so it takes 8 to 10 minutes, I guess, to answer your question, because it's all the employer demographic data. Then they upload that simple census and they're good to go. If an employer wants to get even more personalized, we can start on a file, of course, bringing in payroll data, more data to make it more personalized. But that's to implement. Now, we do recommend a system like this takes about 30 days just to roll out, right? Because the employer wants to say, hey, just an FYI, we're partnering with Wanted to do X, Y, and Z. This is the power. Maybe then the CEO follows it up. Hey, you're very important to us. We want to give you a tool that you can, X, Y, and Z. So we have that roadmap, Lance, that's usually 30 days out, but we do have clients that start that process 60 days out just to continue to kind of fan the fire. So when people get it, they're excited and drives engagement. The other thing I would say just to the group is when you run into platforms that talk about engagement, and I'm sure you do, but the key question is what's the month-to-month engagement rate? Because I'm sure you guys have all implemented products that get high engagement the first month. Oh, this is sick. This is great. It's kind of like my Apple Watch and my Fitbit. I wore it for like 2 months. And then it's gone. So there's this, and then what, right? And you want to have a system that is at least 50% month to month. Ours in particular is running at about 75 to 80. That's again the key. Engaged, useful stuff. They're getting awesome feedback and things. That's the key to changing our industry is that month to month engagement rate.
Now, if somebody was interested in pursuing doing business with you, do they reach out to you, or you have a sales rep in the area, or what?
Yeah, so Lance Ledbetter, and we can, or Lance can reach out to the folks, is our regional solutions consultant down south. So he'd be your contact. I'm also available. I love to talk through this stuff, so feel free to reach out to me as well. But Lance would be kind of your go-to first, and he and I work obviously pretty closely together. So one of us can handle you.
So Lance, you owe me $20. So.
Well done, Al.
One question, another question that I have, and I don't see any questions. We still have a little bit of time. This is really fascinating to me because of the fact that data is so important, and we don't have as much data to determine the culture of the company. How long do you gather data in order for it to be credible, and so that you can bring to the decision makers doable solutions so that they can implement on a long-term, to establish a long-term plan? Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And that's a key piece of the platform. So we built it in a way that you're not going to get 185 questions on your health day one or a 200-page question on your finance. It's built on psychology, so it's 3 questions the first week, 5. So it slowly gets, again, to your point, Al, measurable data. And in our platform, it's roughly 30 days you'll get good data. Like you'll have a good insight. If you have a big problem, you're going to know it pretty much right away. But to get that great data does take about 90 days. So to get real good insight on how people are truly doing does take about 90. But our average client gets really good data in 30 days. One piece, or do you have any more questions, Al? And then I maybe add just a quick caveat to something.
There's no more questions. I got
Okay.
a million.
So one key piece with we talk about understanding the foundation, and until you know that, it's hard to change people. With our system in particular, and I'm hopeful more will do this, is pulling in, you'll see the health on the top up there. That part of the platform starts with the understanding of trying to get people to connect their health. And that is literally at the EHR level. So that's bypassing EDI feeds and claim feeds and all of that stuff. We built an AP or a technology to pull in what is actually happening with Troy's health and Al's health. And why that's extremely powerful to you as obviously in the healthcare industry is through that reporting, you'll start seeing where people are needing the help most. And our system right now, because it'd be a huge build, but we're targeting the top 10 health conditions. And where that's super key is, again, you nor us nor the employer will ever know who has that. So it's all de-identified. That actually doesn't even live on our server. When you log in, the data hits. When you log out, it leaves. So there's no security risk. But now, as a trusted partner of that employer, you'll start seeing the true data on, wow, we are start seeing a lot of diabetics or a lot of hypertension or a lot of mental health. And again, most of what you folks are already putting in place has the solution. It's just they might not know about it yet. So that is a huge key piece when I get into a heavy health discussion with a prospect or a broker friend, is we can do that on a 2Life group because it's not, again, built on a file. Our largest group is 6,000. It's their data. So they can see their wearables, they can see their heart, their blood pressure, they can see all of this, and it's them. And our system is triggering the personalization to what do they need help with? Because again, I'm 42. My conditions are maybe different than Lance's, than different than a 22-year-old. So not to go down that path, Al, but that's another key piece of when you look at a platform to help solve this well-being is, are they looking at the root? And if they're not looking at the root, in my opinion, we're just punting the ball down the field another year, and another year, until you actually start getting to the root of what people need help with. We'll be in the exact same position we were last year.
This is fascinating. We got 3 more minutes. Any questions? I got one more question for you. I'm sorry to be monopolizing, but there was nobody asking more questions.
Yeah.
So it is known that through employee engagement, if you have an engaged employee, he or she will be a better consumer of the benefits. How do you drive engagement to your website so that we can have credible data? Because if we have a company of 100 employees and 3 people are participating, that's not credible data.
Yeah, great question. That's really getting under the hood, Al. I love it. So my screen's still up there. The screenshot is, we call it forced engagement. So our best practice by far and where we have success, tremendous success, is when HR, CEO, CFO pushes the information through Wanadu. So every email they would have sent from HR saying, hey guys, here's an update on COVID, or hey, here's our, if school's closed in the area, here's our plan, right? That goes into a black hole anyways. When they push it through the Wanadu platform, they can still email all saying, hey, I updated our COVID policy, go to Wanadu. So when leadership starts using the tool to drive it, because now I know, Al, all of our clients know if I have a HR COVID return to work question, I go to Wanadu. I don't go to HR because I can go in here and search to figure out the topic because I know my HR and CEO is pushing everything through here. So now that starts it. But now when they start getting the surveys, they start doing the feedback, now you start seeing the ecosystem come alive. So it's forced engagement, plus our tools do a great job of engaging. And that is why, if you get under the hood, our secret sauce, why we have such high engagement is we are forcing employees to be engaged with the platform via the employer or the CEO.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
I want to say thank you to Troy and Wanadu. Thank you. That was a very interesting conversation, interesting presentation. And if you want to learn more about it, reach out to Troy or Lance Ledbetter. Lance is a member of the Atlanta board, and so he's been active, and so you can reach out to him if you have any questions. I want to encourage everybody to go to the virtual trade show. We have a break between 11 and 11:30 where the virtual trade show will be available. And then we'll have the next session starts at 11:30, and we have two options. So thank you again. And if we don't have any more questions, I am going to end this for everybody. Going once, going twice. All right. Y'all have a great day. See you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Al. Thanks, Gina.
All right.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.